Hey there, welcome in. My name is Ryan, and on this channel, we spend quite a bit of time analyzing great pieces of classical music, asking ourselves what makes them great, what makes them epic, what makes the drama work so well. But in this video, I'm going to do something pretty different, but also really practical. I know lots of you are beginner or intermediate or maybe even advanced pianists yourselves. I want to answer the question for you, what do you do when you get stuck? Because if you played piano long enough, you're going to get stuck sometimes. You're going to get to a measure that makes you just want to rip your hair out because it's so frustrating. Everything else around it sounds good, but you just can't quite get that measure to work. Let's jump right in here to step one. And as I normally do, step one is like the most important step. So do not skip it and think I'll get to the good stuff later. You have to do step one, and that's stop and breathe. With the emphasis on stop. Do not do this. Don't do that. Like, you didn't play it well. There's no good just to continue on to the next section that you can play well. You have to stop. The first step is just stop playing and assess the situation. But after you stop, I want you to take a deep breath and remind yourself that not being able to play a measure of music does not mean you're bad at piano. Actually, what makes you bad at piano is not addressing the problem and trying to fix it. But even Marc-Andre Hamelin, if you don't know who Marc-Andre Hamelin is, one of the best pianists technically of our day. He says something along the lines of, I'm like everyone else. I have problems when I play piano. I have measures that are hard for me, essentially, right? I have problems. Then I just address the problems. I fix the issues. So when you stop and breathe, remind yourself that this might not be a 5-minute thing. This might not be a 1-day thing. You might have to kind of learn other parts of this piece and then return to the challenging measures, the challenging sections, kind of gradually over a few weeks. So the whole point of stopping is that you make a plan. The next 3 things I'm going to tell you, the next 3 steps are tips that are part of the plan to maybe make you improve that measure. But even if you come up with a different plan, you have to stop and make a plan first. You cannot just play from a piece, measure 1 to measure 500, 700 times and hope that in the time you've done that, you're going to fix all the issues throughout. You can just stop, think, what is wrong? How can I fix this? Take a deep breath and know it's going to be a process. Now for step 2, I want you to put your doctor's hat on for a second and try to actually diagnose what is the problem. Like, pretend you're a doctor and the patient comes in, the patient says, I have a sore on my elbow, and you give them a laxative. Like, a laxative could be a good thing, I guess, in certain situations, but you gave the wrong remedy for the problem, right? So you have to actually take a second when you stop and breathe in step 1 and say, why is this passage really hard? In the case I showed you earlier from Waldstein Sonata, it's hard kind of for 2 reasons. First of all, well, 3 reasons. First of all, it's fast, but also while being fast, it's not a straightforward scale. You kind of have some straightforward falling scales. They scoop back up. There are some thirds. Sometimes it's not chromatic, and sometimes it is chromatic. But the third really big problem is just trying to sync up the hands in this, because the left hand is doing something very different. So it's easy to go. And again, just to emphasize the reason you want to take a second and ask yourself the question, what actually is the core problem or problems that I'm having, is because the answer is not always going to be the same. I'm going to try to play a little bit of the second page of Opus 101 like I played it the first time I read it. So I opened this piece, I got to page 2. Then maybe I took a second and said, well, what's the right hand? That's not bad. What's the left hand? This page has a couple moments like this where they're not hard to play. They're not fast. They're not actually terribly hard to put hands together like the last one. They're not like that challenge. It's not near as fast, and it's not near as confusing. The notes are actually pretty easy here, but it's almost all in the rhythmic dissonance of unexpected beats on. Then once I realized that, I was like, okay, it's what I got to teach myself is where the beats actually fall. So once again, just to emphasize, the solution for this problem was very different than the solution to the other problem. Now keep in mind for step 3, what I just told you, the solution could be different depending on what the problem is. But One really good universal tip is to play slow, but keep your mind fast and maybe even your arms fast. I see this so often. You tell someone to play slow and then they're almost just like, I guess maybe later. I wonder if that one YouTuber Ryan is going to put out a video. I like his videos a lot. I should subscribe to his channel. I don't know why I haven't subscribed yet. And it's so great. And what I'm doing is I'm not really practicing. I am playing slow, but I'm not learning anything because my brain is so distracted. And you even notice my arms are going so slow. That's not how the technique is going to go when it's fast. So you can play slow, but you can keep your brain really engaged. And it's hard to do. It takes exercise and practice to do this, but keep your brain hyper focused. And again, your arms can still, in some cases, actually move quickly like this. I've noticed a lot just in lessons too. Students don't always see the difference between this and this. The second one will prepare you for how the piece is going to sound when it's fast. And it's not just this piece. You can use the same idea for like the Beethoven we did earlier. If you're doing it slow, I could see someone just going, again, thinking about what they want to have for supper, thinking about how much Netflix isn't the good value it used to be, stuff like that. Instead of going, okay, so I'm going to practice slowly. I have the anticipation of beat one on the and one. Then I have this sharp. This is the weird one with the D and the A on top. It's unexpected, but it resolves down to here. Then I jump up to the treble clef. Basically, I'm keeping my brain engaged and focused while I do it so that when I speed up, I already have the brain ahead of what I'm doing. My mind is already thinking about what's coming up next. Now, for your fourth and final step, there are a lot of tips and tricks I could just throw at you. There's like dotted practice. There's countdown practice. There's, again, depending on the situation, could be a lot of different things that are helpful. But I'm just going to give you the most classic one. Slow it down, get it really good, and then gradually speed it back up. That applies to most situations. It normally is helpful to do that. Now, sometimes you have to do other things to make sure you're still being incisive with the rhythm. If you need to do that, you maybe have to do some dotted practice. There's other tips and tricks that are very much dependent, but the issue is just getting the measure up to speed. It's classic, but it does work pretty well. Make sure you can play it at half tempo, maybe even 30% tempo if you need to. Then gradually work your way up. Remember step one? Over several weeks. This is not going to be like a one-day process where you go slow, you fix it, speed it back up. Normally, if it's truly challenging, you're going to take some time. You're going to figure out what the problem actually is, learn it slowly and well, and then gradually kind of speed it back up. There's your basic template. Hopefully that helps you next time you're playing piano and you throw your book across the room. Don't throw any ear tags, but you throw your book across the room because you can't figure something out. Take a breath, try to solve the problem. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next video.